Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Hoorah! Great news for the new year. Owners and managers of small and medium-sized businesses are seeing signs of improvement in sales. The talk at the Starbucks is all about a more favorable business climate and increased predictability for their businesses. The big 500-pound gorilla in the conversation at the coffee shop? Well, it's HR. That's right, human resources. Now, you'd think with unemployment at historic levels, it would be about getting a job. No. For entrepreneurs, for owners and operators, it's all about finding the right employee and keeping the best from heading to their competitor. Never before has strong human resource practices have had the potential to increase a company's productivity and profitability. Greetings, everyone. It's Thursday, January 6, 2010, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. If you own or operate a small to mid-sized technology business, a startup, a high-growth, government contractor, multi-state, virtual, or global, and you're ready to grow, this Tech Talk is a need-to-know edition on how you can focus on your core competencies and get the affordable help you need to take your company to the next level. Human resource challenges in the new, normal. A 2011 look at how the very successful business owners of tomorrow will do everything from leveraging employees to grow their businesses to containing medical benefit costs and minimizing employment liability. Up to the Tech Talk and the HR challenge of the new decade, Angela Alea, Administaff, senior small business consultant that works with business owners, including tech companies and various other businesses across all industries. Angela has been with Administaff for almost 7 years, experiencing the expansive growth of a booming economy to the challenges of a changing culture for both employees and employers of tomorrow. On that demands a clear HR strategy, from administrative relief to big company benefits, no matter how big or small the company is, from reduced liability to improved productivity. Outsourcing the management of HR, employee benefits, payroll, and worker compensation, and more as we Tech Talk human resource challenges and strategies with Administaff Senior Small Business Consultant Angela Alea. Angela, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Frank.
Well, I think that there's a lot of confusion, a lot of conversation going around as far as HR is concerned. And it's such an important subject with the economy the way it is and with the, I think, dramatic changes that are going on, technology and a lot of other things, the economy. What are some of the common HR mistakes a company can make?
Well, there's quite a few that companies can make. The most common one we see, especially right now, is companies that are growing, they very quickly need to fill positions. So they typically hire the wrong person. They hire based on gut rather than objective information. And a lot of times that can really cost them down the road, especially when it comes time when they realize 90 days, sometimes a year in, okay, you know what, we really did make the wrong hire. And then part of that exit really comes back to bite them when it comes to employment lawsuits and those sorts of things. But a lot of things, it's just business is busy and they can't get good people fast enough, so they make the wrong decision.
You know, it's being an entrepreneur and a small businessman myself, I've done it, and it is obviously a dangerous thing, but, you know, you make so many kind of off-the-cuff decisions, but certainly this is one where I guess you'd almost say it's more of a science and you're a whole lot better off getting help than you are using just how good do you feel about, the cut of the jib, if you will. Let's talk a little bit about implementing strategies, and obviously I'm going to assume that you really recommend that you have HR strategies to begin with. But maybe the first question might be, or the next question is, what trends are happening in the workplace right now given the economy?
Well, we're seeing definitely a lot of optimism coming off the cusp of kind of what we've been experiencing for the past couple of years. So
that's
business
great news.
owners, yeah, it is. I get more and more excited the more I sit across from business owners who are not doom and gloom but have this great entrepreneurial attitude as they approach their business. We're seeing more expansion than we've ever seen before, more product development, and just a lot of excitement regarding the uptick of what we're seeing in the industry.
Boy, that's really great to hear. Unfortunately, with all of the, I guess if it bleeds, it leads. You hear so much gloom and doom and so much about job unemployment that hearing about those kind of things, I think is a great message for everybody to know. And of course, you guys are right where the more or less the tire meets the road. So that's incredible insight. Let's talk again, though, maybe mine in a little bit as far as the current economy. Are there more or less mistakes, and what can happen if those mistakes are ignored?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's really more mistakes that are being made simply because there are more to be made. There's more regulations. There's never been a time when there is more compliance and regulations on the typical small business owner, and it's just too hard for our clients to stay up to date with all that they have to be compliant with. So we're seeing more mistakes being made just simply because there are more things and more areas where they can make mistakes. And a lot of those come around compliance. Should my salaried person really be hourly? Should they be exempt from overtime or not? And a lot of those penalties are pretty strict. That's one of the most common ones we see is, okay, well, we have a receptionist and she's a salaried and that's that. Well, depending on the actual job function of that reception, they may not be salaried and they may be entitled to overtime. So part of that penalty is looking back 2 years and paying that person for the time that they actually did work. So that's some of the most common ones we see, but certainly more mistakes are being made now than ever.
I'm guessing that one of the things, we were just touching on it, and that is with all of the negativity that's going on about the economy and the pressures of compliance and other things that are happening from government regulation, I guess there's an issue of motivation as far as the economy is concerned. I mean, keeping employees motivated. Is that something that you have any concern about?
Well, that's certainly something we hear a lot of our client business owners turn to us for, because it is hard to keep them motivated. Before it was, in the past year or so, it was, well, our employees, I know they're glad to have a job. Well, as things are turning, now it's, okay, you know what, we want to compete for top talent, and we don't want to take these things for granted. So they're looking for ways to kind of gain a competitive edge against the larger companies who can maybe even pay more, do those sorts of things. So they're turning to things like, what are some what are solid benefit plans we can offer? How can we recognize our employees? We want to be known as an employer who really communicates with our employees and make them feel like they're important to the organization. And how do we build a strong company culture that's going to keep our employees very loyal, even if the company down the road is going to pay them, 25% more than we're able to pay. So we see a lot of companies really trying to educate their employees and keep them in the loop on what is the mission of our company and helping each employee understand the critical role that they as an individual play in helping their employer reach their goals.
One of the things that we do as a company, we produce events and do professional video production and those kind of things, among a lot of other things in what we call new media. And recently we were at a SHRM conference, the Society of Human Resource Management, and I was fascinated that one of the things that came up was social media, because we're talking about employees being motivated. This was a case where they were also trying to alert a lot of the human resource management people that you need to treat them well, because they can get onto social media and start communicating, and that can damage, your not so much your customer reputation, but your employment opportunities, because the people want to find happy places to work at and places where they feel like they're recognized, and that in some cases those messages can actually go viral on something like a Facebook or something,
Absolutely.
It's an amazing time. Once again, another reason why you would not want to trek this territory by yourself, but in fact look for assistance, which is a great segue into my next question, and that is, we're all about Administaff here today on Tech Talk, so give us a little insight as far as what you guys do as a company to help other companies.
Sure. Well, basically what we do is we help the average small business owner focus on growing their business, and then they allow us to manage all of the employment processes that go along with being an employer. So we help them avoid the most common HR mistakes and employment mistakes. But most importantly, that the average small business can't afford a lot of the things that a Fortune 500, a Fortune 1000 company can afford when it comes to employment resources, when it comes to group medical benefits, when it comes to retirement plans, when it comes to all of the tangible and intangible benefits that large companies can provide. The average small business owner just doesn't have access to those resources. So what we as a company do is we go out, we're in all 50 states, and we combine our thousands of clients with all of their employees, and we go to market as a large group for things like workers' comp insurance and medical benefits, the absolute best training resources, labor attorneys, all those things so they're scalable and, most importantly, affordable for the small business owner.
When you, again, as a small business owner myself, bottom line matters. A lot of times I think we're intimidated by the fact that we can't afford to do these things. And the truth is we can't afford not to do them in order to remain competitive. I mean, we can do a lot of things in our core competency that we think are effective, but the reality of it is it's the total business environment and running it properly the way that you're describing that's going to potentially be the difference between survival and not. One of the buzzwords I hear a lot about, in fact, I was at lunch the other day and a fellow was talking about something called PEO. What is a PEO?
Well, a PEO actually stands for Professional Employer Organization. But what that concept is basically an outsourced HR department that's priced and designed for small and medium-sized companies. So what it does is it allows for small business to enter into a co-employment relationship so the employees still belong to the actual small business owner. They still decide who to hire, who to fire. But again, it allows them access to things like experienced HR specialists who can help with time-consuming HR tasks that come up on a day-to-day basis and have access to group medical benefits and those sorts of things. But again, all scalable for the small business owner.
And this is something that Administaff does as well?
Correct. That is what Administaff is a PEO, and we actually founded the industry. We are coming up on our 25th year anniversary and are publicly traded as well, so we consider ourselves the leader in the industry.
I think that again, with the expansion of all of the other benefits and things and services that you provide, now that, and I feel silly in having asked that question because now I remember the original reason that you guys were first branded and created, and I can understand it's exactly what you guys were, and now it's that expanded into all of the other benefits and services that you provide. What is the cost of a PEO? Is it really something that a small business can afford?
Absolutely. That's actually all we work with is small business. We don't work with large companies, so we just work with small companies. But when it comes to the exact cost, I can tell you that it's far less expensive than group medical benefits that they can get on their own. It's far less expensive than hiring a labor attorney. It's far less expensive than paying for training or compliance help and all of those sorts of things. So it's far less expensive than that, and certainly far less expensive than hiring somebody to do it internally for them.
And again, the idea of that, my intelligence currency that you guys have in terms of keeping up with all of the current situations and compliances and regulations and training and expertise, that when you hire somebody in a permanent situation like that, it's difficult for them to stay that much expanded as far as all the changes are concerned. You've mentioned a couple of times about small business, and maybe share with our listeners, what's a typical client like?
It's not really an industry-specific type of company that we work with. It's more of working with entrepreneurs who want to get better, who are growing and emerging and really see their people as their biggest asset and see their people as the avenue to getting their business to the next level. A lot of times it is companies that may be multi-state but, again, don't have the depth and the time to really understand employment law in all the states that they currently operate in or could be expanding into. But it's really not an industry-specific thing. It's really not even a size-specific thing. I think our average client has about 17 employees, but, again, we have some that have far less and some that have far more. But it's really just any entrepreneur who really values their employees and sees them as their number one asset.
Well, obviously, a lot of our listeners, most of them are involved in technology companies. Is that one of the groups that you work with? And do you get as small as startups? And what about high-growth companies? Are they all fit into that criteria?
Yeah, that's a great question. They all do. Actually, our biggest sector is technology only because it is so fast-moving. There are so many different moving parts. Their people are their biggest asset because that is their product that they're offering is typically their people and the people developing the software and implementing it and doing the consulting on it. And certainly a startup, we do a lot of work with those as well because they just typically come from a large corporation. They understand all the risk exposures they have as a startup, and they just want everything up and running day one. So we're a great fit for those startups as well.
Well, Angela, a lot to know and understand, a lot more help I'm sure that you can get if you were to, our listeners were to make contact. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and thank you so much for taking a moment to join us on Tech Talk today. But before we go, I'd be remiss in not asking, how would our listeners, if there's anyone out there that wants to get more information, how would they get in touch?
Yeah, the best way would probably just be to contact me directly. We have a local Administaff office here, and you can reach us at 678-624-2931.
Well, Angela, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Tech Talk.
Thanks so much, Frank. I enjoyed it.